Hi, happy Friday to everybody. Welcome. How quick the week goes. So grateful to be here with you on Friday. Welcome to Wellbeing Faces Live. My name is Simi Rayet. I'm the founder and principal psychologist of Wellbeing Face, and we're a thriving psychology coaching and consulting practice, really focusing on helping leaders and founders elevate their leadership impact by focusing on well-being, inclusion, and productivity. So welcome to today's live. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook today. Let me know that you're here. Post a hi in the chat so I know that you're here. I'll keep an eye on the comments page as well. So if you have comments, reflections, any questions throughout today's live, please let me know. I hope you've all had a good week, and I'm really pleased that you have logged in, or you'll be tuning in to watch this live a little bit later and watch the replay, because it's a really important topic, because we're going to be talking today about hiring for culture add, not culture fit. And I'll go into explaining why it's an important topic and what we'll be covering today. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that today's live is a slightly shorter live. They normally go on for 30 minutes. Today's live will be finishing just short of 20 minutes. I will then be moving on to another platform to be a speaker for Vic Startup today. We're really looking at talking and guiding on how to create inclusive recruitment practices. So looking forward to that conversation a little bit later. So welcome to those of you that are here. Again, let me know that you're here by posting on the chat. That would be great. So this is a topic that's really important and dear to my heart, and very central to the work that I do. So I've worked as a consultant, globally, advising and guiding organizations on how to create and develop diverse and inclusive workplaces and teams. And I always start with this premise of culture add. Let's look for culture add rather than culture fit. And all too often, I hear hiring managers or recruitment managers say, this person's just not quite the right fit, or candidate A is not as good fit as candidate B, or I've just got this gut feel that this candidate is not going to gel well with the team here. Now, it's really interesting because some of those comments may sound familiar to you, and quite often they can just go over our head and we don't really think much of them. But today I really want to unpack this with you, because hiring for culture fit really does not mean that you're going to hire the right person. And it also is very much layered with bias and prejudices. It's not hiring with keeping inclusion at the forefront of your approach. So in this short live, what I want to do is I want to share with you some key principles behind hiring for culture add. But before we do that, I want to unpack what we mean by hiring for culture add rather than culture fit. And if we have time, we'll then have a look at some tips and techniques and strategies to hire for culture add. If we don't have time for that today, I do apologize in advance, but that's okay, because I want you to then reach out to me by email, contact me, and I will share further insights with you. Absolutely more than happy to do that. So let's start with, what do I mean when I say let's hire for culture add, not fit? When we hire for fit, we are essentially saying, or the hiring manager is essentially saying, I want more of the same. People that look like the rest of the team, that think like rest of the team and act like rest of the team. So someone that's going to fit in, not essentially rock the boat, but really kind of assimilate with the majority of the team that you already have. Now, as you can imagine, if you hire then for fit, nothing really is going to change. Nothing much is going to change. And when we look for this notion of hiring someone to fit with the culture, we're actually looking for a certain type of person that represents the majority in that team. When we have this mindset, what we're then doing is we are likely to be swayed by our own bias and our own prejudices, and we'll look for qualities that we are familiar with and that we already have within the team. Research shows that if we go down this route of hiring for culture fit, we're going to absolutely end up with a non-diverse team and a non-diverse organization. And this is where groupthink and complacency really kicks in and takes over. And this is essentially where we're not hiring for diversity here, we're hiring for the sameness. And with sameness, we're then not hiring for cognitive diversity, which is difference in views, opinions, ideas that people bring to the table when they're coming from a diverse background. Now, there's lots of research out there that shows that when you're hiring for diversity, especially cognitive diversity, it leads to greater innovation. It leads to better decision making. In fact, the research shows it leads to 80%, 87% better in terms of the decisions that are made, and it leads to less group think. I want to just share a couple of examples with you what we mean by group think. And we use these a lot in psychology. Is famous example that we use to demonstrate groupthink is the Bay of Pigs invasion. And you may recall this event. You may also recall reading about this event. And this was in 1986 when President Kennedy and his cabinet hatched a plan to invade Cuba and to execute Fidel Castro. Now, there was a lack of agreement within the team, within the group. However, that agreement, or those who disagreed, their views and disagreements were essentially squashed. The dissent in the group was squashed. And everyone then eventually went along with the plan, which, as we know, turned out disastrously, in a very disastrous way. So the Bay of Pigs invasion is a really classic example that demonstrates groupthink. A more recent example is also part of the reason why Lehman Brothers, the collapse of Lehman Brothers was because of groupthink. Several people who disagreed with the bank's strategy were removed. They were silenced by the leadership, and that then led to the collapse of Lehman Brothers. So groupthink is so powerful and destructive in the sense that if we go with the majority and we all think in the same way, we absolutely can go down an incorrect path and the results can be disastrous. So if you hire for fit, you're also more likely not representing your customer base. All too often, if you're looking to expand your customer base or move into new emerging markets, you're going to need to diversify the representation that you have within your business to represent the new emerging diverse market. Now, as I've trained hundreds of hiring managers, HR teams, and panel members to recruit fairly, a common point is often raised, especially during what we call the wash-up phase or the integration phase or the calibration stage. So this is where the candidates have gone through the assessment process. The panel have now got together. They've scored independently, but they've now got together to share their scores, and where there is a discrepancy in scoring, they need to discuss those scores in light of the evidence that they've gathered. So this is what we call the wash-up or the integration calibration process. Now, it's really interesting. All too often, I hear hiring managers and assessors making a comment such as, well, I don't think this person is the right fit, or I think this candidate A is a better fit. And this word fit is very objective, because your definition of fit may be very different to my definition of fit. And it's going to be layered, as I said, with lots of judgment and bias. Now, unless, as part of designing this assessment process and the scoring criteria, unless fit is essential to someone being successful in the role, we should not be assessing or scoring people against fit. And if you are scoring people against fit, you must have had to clearly define objectively and in an observable, measurable way what you mean by fit. And that needs to happen before candidates are being assessed, not bringing that new criteria into the panel discussion of deciding whether a candidate is going to be progressed or not, or whether they're successful or not. Now, it's really interesting because hiring for fit is essentially a very dated model. And it's dated in the sense that hiring managers would decide whether they would hire someone because they thought, well, if I could be stuck in an airport with this person, if there was a blizzard, would I be able to be stuck with this person and would I get along with them? Or would I be able to go for a drink at the pub with them? Clearly, you can see these are not reliable and valid measures that someone who is going to be able to keep you company, be trapped in an airport because there's been a blizzard, or go to the pub with you and have a great conversation, a great time with you, is a predictor of their on-the-job performance. Clearly, it's not. So hiring practices really do need to revolve around assessing for culture add, not culture fit. And if you do hire for culture fit, all you're really going to do is you're going to get the same of what you've already got. You're not going to be developing an inclusive culture. So instead, I really encourage you to think about hiring for culture add. Culture add is really looking at difference. So it could be race, gender, age, industry background, levels of expertise, levels of experience, seeing that difference not as an issue or a problem, but seeing it as an asset. So I'm really hoping that just in this short, brief time that we've spent together today, you've got a clearer idea what I mean by hiring for culture add rather than culture fit, and the issues and the problems that we can fall into easily when we go down the route of hiring for culture fit. It's layered with bias, with prejudice. And if your aim as an organization is to become an attractive employer that attracts that attracts diverse talent and creates an environment that inclusion is high on the agenda, that people of all backgrounds and abilities are able to thrive because their skills, their capabilities are recognized, appreciated, and rewarded. And people are able to bring their whole selves and their best selves to work. That's an inclusive environment. Deloitte's research shows that 39% of employees would actually leave their organization, their current organization, for a more inclusive organization. This is where inclusive practices in terms of hiring practices and retaining talent in your organization is critical if you're looking to really attract and retain the brightest and the best talent now and in the future. So I really hope this gives you some food for thought. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about Culture Add. We have lots of tools and strategies that we work very closely with our clients on in terms of training hiring managers on how to hire for Culture Add and how to put in best practice tools and techniques to really hire in an inclusive way that's going to give you those inclusive recruitment outcomes. So please feel free to get in contact. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you that have joined, thank you, Vino, for your comments. I really do appreciate that you value the comments that have been shared. And welcome and thank you to Bilraj as well. So pleased that you like today's content. You found it very valuable. Please do reach out, those of you that you have got more questions and would like to have more insight from Wellbeing Face. That's all for today. Like I said, we're cutting today's session short today as I'm now going to be a speaker for Vic Startup, providing guidance and advice on how you can hire inclusively in the startup world. So if this is something you're interested in, please log on to that session too. But I wish you all very well for this Friday. Wishing you the best weekend and look forward to connecting with you all next Friday. I have a fabulous guest on next Friday's show, and I'll be sharing details about next Friday's live very shortly, early next week. So take care. Wish you all the best for now. Bye-bye.